This weekend, as Lagosians head to the polls for local government elections, Nigeria finds itself at a critical intersection of politics, policy, and economic identity. It may be easy to dismiss these elections as routine or low stakes, but that would be a mistake because beneath the surface, something profound is shifting in Nigeria's economic architecture. Just 2 weeks ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed into law a sweeping tax reform package, the most ambitious in decades. These reforms aim to do what Nigeria has struggled with for years: harmonize taxes across federal, state, and local governments. So this isn't just about simplifying paperwork. It's about unlocking Nigeria's revenue potential, creating a single, more transparent tax system through the establishment of a joint revenue board, and using data and digital tools to close loopholes. Nowhere is this more relevant than in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial nerve center. With a GDP larger than that of some African countries, Lagos generates significant internal revenue, but also faces deep pressures from population growth, infrastructure gaps, and regulatory complexity. And this weekend's elections are essentially a referendum on how well local governments can rise to meet these challenges. Because here's the thing, reforms at the top can only succeed if there's capable delivery at the bottom. Local governments are the first line of economic governance. They oversee markets, they collect signage and parking levies, waste levies, they issue business permits, they discuss whether, and they decide whether taxes feel like a tool for development or a punishment for compliance. Do Nigerians fully appreciate just how powerful their local governments are in shaping the economic climate? They should, especially with these new tax reforms coming into play. The introduction of things like a development levy, revised capital gains tax, and e-invoicing requirements will only work if state and local governments have the institutional strength to implement them. That includes Lagos's local councils. And this brings us to the Naira. There's a new Bloomberg analysis that suggests that for the very first time in a very long time, Nigeria's currency is no longer behaving like a simple oil proxy. In fact, the article says the Naira is decoupling from oil. Well, despite these softening global oil prices, the Naira has held relatively firm. Why? A few reasons. Foreign portfolio investors are slowly returning, monetary tightening has made Naira assets a bit more attractive, and perhaps most significantly, investors are responding to the sense that there's now policy intention and some early execution behind Nigeria's reform narrative. Could we be witnessing the early signs of Nigeria's decoupling its currency and perhaps its economic destiny from oil? That may sound optimistic for now. After all, hydrocarbons still fund a large portion of government spending. But what we're seeing is a shift in investor psychology. The story is no longer just about crude, it's about credibility. And yes, there are risks. One is that potential friction between different tiers of governments could actually wane on some of this reform momentum. As tax reforms kick in, will state and local governments compete for the same tax base? Will businesses operating in sensitive sectors like real estate, retail, and logistics face duplication or confusion over who they pay and why? These are the questions that will define the success or failure of the current reform effort. In many ways, this is Nigeria's fiscal coming of age moment. Can we build a tax system that is broad, fair, and digitally enabled? Can we ensure that reforms at the federal level don't get lost in the fragmentation of local delivery? And can we evolve beyond oil as the primary determinant of currency strength and investor sentiment? So, as Lagos votes this weekend, it's not just a political event, it's a test of economic governance, of whether local leadership can rise to match national ambition. Because in the end, it's the marriage of ballots and budgets that will shape the new Naira logic. Well, that's all we have time for on Business Week this week. I'm Rolake Akekugbe-Filani. Let's, of course, continue the conversation on X. Do have a lovely rest of the weekend.